Hi everyone, my name is Chris, your cantankerous quarantine cardboard gamer, and welcome to my board game guides. Today we're going to be taking a look at a game called On Tour. It's a board game, but we'll be taking a look at the app version. On Tour is a roll and write game that has you in the role of a band manager setting some concert dates for a band that you're managing. Now, your goal as the band manager is to get to as many locations in the US as possible based on what the availability and tour dates are. And the person who is most successful at that role is the one who will win. That theme is intriguing enough. But before we review On Tour, it's worth looking at the trajectory of the roll and write genre in context. To start, roll and write's gameplay is self-explanatory. You'll roll dice and mark up your board, arranging it in a way as to maximize your score. Doing well involves understanding probability and being able to account for the capriciousness of luck when it rears its head. The genre took the board game world by storm in 2018 with two notable offerings. The first was Welcome To. In it, you play the role of a real estate developer building out a housing subdivision by writing flipped cards onto your board. The second, Ganz Schön Clever, that's pretty clever, was more of a traditional roll and write. Here you'll take the numbers on the dice you roll and assign them to places on the board. Doing so may trigger some combo which, if planned well, allows you to maximize your score. But if you aren't familiar with those offerings, there's always the time-tested Yahtzee, which has you rolling dice and assigning the results to score points. So, enter BoardGameTables.com, board game furniture maker turned game publisher. They released On Tour in 2019. Now, as I mentioned, On Tour is a roll and write game that also mixes in a bit of route building. The theme sets the context for the game. The mechanics then follow logically. Each turn, you'll flip over 3 location cards and roll 2 10-sided dice. The cards mark out the areas of the map where you're allowed to tour, and the dice results tell you the 2 numbers you'll be marking down, the number and the digit of reverse of that number. So roll a 1 and a 2, and you'll be marking down a 12 and 21. When deciding where to mark the numbers on the map, you'll keep in mind that the goal is to create a connected sequence of ever-increasing numbers that will yield the longest route possible. All of that carries its dose of randomness, and you'll have to be okay with that. On a positive note, On Tour is a game that you can get better at. When I first started playing On Tour on the app, I was scoring somewhere between 25 to 28 points. But nowadays, with tons of plays under my belts, I'm averaging closer to like 34, 35. Sometimes I even hit 40 plus if I get lucky. But the road to getting there is frustrating, and you'll have to figure it out whether that's something you can live with. Because when I say frustrating, I mean it. Before I go into my thoughts, let's be fair to the designer and publisher. They acknowledge that this game isn't for everyone. In one of their marketing emails, they spell out the fact that you're not going to like this game if you enjoy games where you can 1. Make plans that you know will work, 2. Interact with other players, and 3. Find ways to score lots of points. Granted, all 3 are par for the course for most roll and writes, and for my taste, the first one should have been a warning that On Tour wasn't going to be for me. The games I tend to prefer are low to no luck Euro, splatter games, and so on. They also go on to say, you can't go into On Tour with a firm plan. After seeing the setup numbers, you might have an idea that you want your route to run east to west and then bend down to the south. But if you want to maximize your score, then you better be ready to change that depending on the rolls and cards. leaving yourself options. Some people love to curse the dice in On Tour. The game is all luck. While it is true that luck plays a role in On Tour, the game is about mitigating that luck. Don't put yourself in a position where you need a number between 60 and 65 to be rolled. Work to put yourself in positions where any number above 50 will work for you. There is luck, but I know from playing hundreds of games while developing the On Tour app that there is room for skill. You can get better. With that as the context, I still wanted to give On Tour a whirl. And even as I grew more skillful and did get better, there are too many moments where I grew frustrated. And that's because On Tour has a lot of variability. Some games run smooth and what you expect to have happen, happens. Other games are downright maddening, when Lady Luck spits in your face and gives you results that have you staring at the dice and thinking, really? Are you joking? For example, some starting positions are near ludicrous. In this particular opening, I guess the 48 and 84 are unusable? How on earth would I be able to link up to them given where the 69 and 96 are placed? Guess the best option is to make do with the 69 and 96. Now, in this example, you've already got an idea of which numbers will go where. Except, surprise! You roll the right numbers, but pull up the completely wrong territories. So, sorry 12 and 21, even though they're best suited for the East Coast, I pulled the West and Central US, so there they'll go, eating away at my precious trash slots. The territory cards you draw can be a source of frustration. And finally, attempts to position yourself for success by leaving enough room between numerical values can backfire. Sometimes the number you're looking for just doesn't come up. Here, I've left a gap between 26 and 38, which should, in theory, allow me to place when I finally roll a number between 26 and 38, a wide enough range to be sure. Except I don't roll any more 3s that game, and as a result my map is cut off when I lose out on 9 points, simply because the 3 only came up once during the game. Now this doesn't happen often, but it happens often enough that it leaves me feeling like I've been slapped in the face. The frustration from On Tour's randomness isn't offset by many highs. And the skill ceiling, I'd say, is pretty low, which means most games of On Tour just aren't that satisfying. So as a way to kill time, it's not the worst thing to do. And in fact, if you do decide to try On Tour, I highly recommend trying it out on the app. And the reasons for this are manyfold. First of all, it calculates the score for you. You don't have to spend time at the very end of the game taking your pen, drawing from point A to point B, trying to figure out what your longest network of connected concert tours would be. So that's nice. Secondly, you can finish an entire game in probably 5, maybe 10 minutes tops. So it plays pretty quick. And third of all, if the game hoses you, if the dice rolls just don't go your way, if the cards that you draw for the locations are just unhelpful, you can quit and start over. Not something you can do when you're playing at a table with living, breathing human beings. So as a game to play solo on an app, yeah, sure, give On Tour a shot. As a game that I would play at game night with other people, not for me. There are a lot other games that I'd much prefer bringing to the table, and because of that, I can't imagine playing On Tour in any other way except on the app. So, thanks for listening to this review of On Tour. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.